Evening, Board. I agree with Director Davis. I think CPI is really the only fair and equitable thing you guys can do to have an increase that makes sense. You guys just authorized an increase for solid waste of 3.5%, which would be less than that or the same, depending on the item MA fees. It's a CPI increase that applies to everyone equal. The tiered structure that was presented by Barbara Wells is not fair and equal because you're sticking it to the people in the middle. People that use less water or the most water are paying less money. That makes no sense. The current structure has people using the most water paying the highest fees, which makes sense. So if you did a straight CPI, it's fair and equitable for everyone. You don't have a group of people that's taking the brunt of this huge increase, which is probably the middle class, people who are families, large families, groups of people in a house, and they're going to get stuck paying the highest rates, the highest increase. Why? Why would you stick it to those people who are just trying to make ends meet, provide for their family, have water, showers, and everything else? That makes no sense. So why a consulting group would be paid $100,000 to would suggest that, I can't tell you, but it makes no sense. It's not fair for the community. It's not fair at all. So one thing I'd like you to understand and realize is that San Miguel Garbage ran to 218. Do you know how many protests they got? A big fat zero. Do you know why? Because what they proposed was fair. Here, you got hundreds of community members saying they did not want an increase or not that increase. So the community has spoken, they protested because it's not fair and equal for everyone. So perhaps we can do a CPI increase that is fair, and maybe the public won't protest it. I've implored upon all of you guys to really think carefully about this increase and make it fair for everyone that lives here and pays the bill. We all understand that everyone's costs go up, including the districts, but it shouldn't be shouldered by a small group within the community of bearing the burden of the biggest increase. It's not fair. So I would implore you to consider a CPI increase across the board and leaving the tiered structure you have now in place because it's fair. People who use the most water should pay the most for the rates. Okay?
Any other public comment? Elector and sign in. State your name.
My name is Robert Johnson. I live at 675 15th Street, San Miguel. Okay. With alternative one, CPI increase. I pay.
Gotta deal with the kid.
It's all right, I'm here because I don't want my water up either. We'll come get you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my question is, with this, I understand what the previous gentleman said, and I do agree. So how would that, the CPI increase affect if you keep the 3-tier system? I'm in the 0 to 5. My bill is, whether I use 1 unit of water or 5 units of water, my bill is the same. And my thing is, I just want to pay for what I use. I don't particularly care for just, just being stuck with one price. Because if I don't use it, why am I paying for it? That's my question.
Robin, is it Robin?
Yes.
Can you state your name again?
Robin Johnson.
Thank you.
If you have questions, you can address it to the district.
That's what's about a $2 increase.
Kelly, did you want to answer her question?
Pardon me?
Did you want to answer her question?
So, if the board elects tonight to start, or to do a CPI on top of the current rate structure we have, For you, paying or using less than 5 units, it would go to roughly $55.11, which is about $2.02 increase for you. It doesn't change that you're still being charged for 5 units, whether you use 5 units or not. I think your concern now, as it was at the last meeting, that you don't want to pay for water that you're not getting because you don't use it all.
Right.
So that this, going forward with our current rate structure and just adding CPAC, that doesn't solve that. What would solve that is either going with Director Baker's his rate structure or the notice rate structure that was already gone through the 218, where they're paying for all the units they're getting, or all the units they're using, not necessarily ones that they're not getting.
All right, well, thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? Please approach the lectern.
Should you ask the lady to go outside with your child?
You can ask her and tell her we're ready for it.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind. Does anybody else have a comment they want to approach? Sign in, state your name and address, please.
My name is Jacqueline Clements. I live at 1645 Olive Road. I agree with both the people that were here before. I think, what Mr. John said, that Director Baker's plan is very good with people using less water, paying less money. That's what I had in the previous city that I lived in, and when I came here, it was a sticker shock. I was like, we use very little water, tore out our yard. And it doesn't incentivize people to use less water by doing tiers like this. Like she's saying, you're using 1-2 units of water, but you're still paying what everybody else is paying at 5. It's not incentivizing using less water, which we don't have. I mean, we do, in that it's still going to come out of the faucet, but we are facing droughts every year. I feel like I'm constantly getting those notices that we're facing droughts, and it's just going to keep getting worse with climate change. We need to think further ahead. We need to incentivize people to use less water. That's also what he was saying, that the people that are using the most water should not be paying less than the people using less water. That doesn't make any sense. In any kind of business, use more, pay more. So I looked over what I could for Mr. Baker's proposal, but I just think not having a minimum, like I've had in other cities, would be what I would choose, because that was the thing that just blew me away. I walked in and paid my first bill, and back then, by the way, it was a fourth of what it is now. I was like, I don't understand. I've been paying water my entire adult life. Why is it this much? And they said because they have a minimum, but that their water rates here in San Miguel were lower than anybody in the county. But at that time, when I moved in, not now, we're lower than anybody in the county. That's what I was told by the water person when I paid it, and I was choking on the bill. And now it's even more. I just don't understand why we can't pay for what we use. I completely agree. Thank you very much. No. Is somebody back there?
Have any other public comment? Please approach the lectern.
I just brought a copy. I'm Jennifer Robbins.
Sign in, please.
The love ones in the back. I brought a copy of the Templeton water bill because I thought it was really interesting. That's what I moved from. I was used to paying 90 and came here to start paying 2. Basically, on average, their water bill is half of ours. I don't understand that. And then we want to raise ours. How are families supposed to do that? But if anybody wants to see that, yeah.
Any other public comment? Please approach the lectern and sign in. have any direction for the, for this is said. We don't need any direction.
Do we need to give direction at this one?
No,
That's what it's here for. It's not for action, it's, if you want to move forward with either of these, so there should be board discussion regarding what, public comment and what Kelly and I just talked about, and do you want to see a resolution on the CPI increase at the next meeting, or do you want to have the consultants engaged to form a nexus between Director Baker's rates and the services, or do you not want to move forward with either of those items? Do you want more information? That's kind of where we're at.
So, when we started this whole process and we had heard from people like yourself and that you're paying more for water that you don't use, that was kind of the whole premise of getting our rate structure so that you are only paying. And it would help those people that are in the, do not use very much water. I am not in favor of the CPI increase, maybe in a different scenario, but not based upon what our current rate structure is. It just doesn't make sense. So I'm not in favor of that at all. With Director Baker's, it's very, it sounds interesting. It's something that we should have, we're already a year down the road. These people could have been saving money for now a year. And we're just prolonging their, it's just unfortunate. So I'm not, at this time, not in favor of either of those alternatives.
Director Collins?
I do want to say thank you for the people who came and spoke tonight, and the people who come and spoke over this entire review. I worked with Director Baker regarding his plan. I spent a lot of time, we spent a lot of evenings, myself, Director Baker, and Mr. Dodds going over it. And even though I like that proposal and that method, there are issues. One is, unfortunately, state law, specifically the San Juan Capistrano case. If I'm not mistaken, legal, okay. If you want, we can expound on that for the audience about the San Juan Capistrano case. That being said, I work in South County. I've been working specifically with a lot of utility customers. I managed over 16,000 utility customer accounts. Specifically, I do think that it's going to be the best deal, and moving forward with a way that gives empowers people to have more control over their bills. As we move forward with the structure that will be approved tonight, I think that staff should encourage ways, rebates or whatever else needs to be done for efficiency, so people can take full control over their water consumption and will best benefit themselves. So, thank you.
Director Baker?
It's a tough deal because I agree people should only pay for what they use. Okay, and the problem that we have is that we have so few users. We have like 900, I think we're 917, and it's a very small population to pay for the water facility. If we had 2,000, it would probably be a lot less, or I think in a couple of months we have some more people in San Miguel, so they can spread the costs. So that's the tough part. The consultant deal I don't like at all. I think the fixed cost is way too low. It's just totally based on the amount of water you use. If people cut back too much, we're not going to get the revenue. Because that base is really low. That makes no sense to me. And then the people in the middle, starting like at 4 or 5, they're getting 15, 16% increases. Okay, so the people at the bottom are getting huge decreases. The people at the top are getting huge decreases. And the people in the middle are getting slammed. And in my case, it's the same, but it's not quite as much. But it's just the way that the math works. So it's either way is not good, but I don't like the consultant one at all. I think it's really unfair, and I think it's financially risky for the district.
Director Davis?
Yeah, I'd just like to remind the lady back there that moved here 4 years ago, and she's right, the rates have almost quadrupled in 4 years. And let her know, one of the reasons is because of this litigation we've been in. You know, it's cost over $1 million. And that's one of the reasons that I was told there had to be a rate increase, because we had to pay the lawyers. And, okay, the lawyers are now paid, I guess. Probably gonna get some more, but, and so on. And people need to know that, you know, because the water's already increased, almost quadrupled in the last 4 years from that last rate increase. So we definitely don't need another rate increase, period. So I just wanted to let the lady know why the water bill went up so much.
Also now a member of the board is
Wait a minute. You were allowed to have a comment.
No, it's okay. I'm
Comments,
saying
no
it out loud.
comments.
Member of the
Please.
board right here.
Point of order.
Bring that.
Point of order. It's not public comment.
You're not allowed to shout from the seats. And you were allowed time to speak.
Shackle me.
Okay. Okay. I myself am not for either alternative. And for some of the reasons. And we're a year behind already, so we'll do a water meeting. So we don't have any direction for one or two. Not consensus on the board.
I thought, we have I'm for the CPI, and I don't know what anybody else is.
I just said I'm not.
Okay, so which one you for?
I said I'm not for either one of them, if you were listening.
So we don't have two board members that want to bring back either, so neither of them are going to
Well,
go back.
I would take the CPI over the original consultant's one.
So we can bring it back for consideration with two board members in support of that at the next meeting, if it is still appropriate after number 3.
All right, moving on to number 3. This is a continuation of the discussion and potential action regarding the adoption of the water rates from the September 28, 2023 board meeting pursuant to Article 8D of the California Constitution of San Miguel Community Service District, and continuing the discussion regarding the protest ballot submitted, and will consider taking action to update the rate structure and increase rates for water services. Resolution 2024-01.
So this is coming back as a continuation from prior meeting. Essentially at this time, you have the same options as before, or you can either approve it, you can approve it with modifications so long as the cost is less than what was noticed, or you can vote to discontinue talking about it. Yeah, we've gone over it, and if you have specific questions, then I'm happy to answer them. One thing that I might just put out there, as was discussed in the last, if the board likes this option but doesn't want to use 5%, then the board could elect to impose the CPI up to 5% for the remaining years, which would be for 4 years.
Okay. Dr. Kellogg? Yeah? Anything? comment, please approach the lectern.
Two directors interested in CPI. Shouldn't we be discussing that before you're considering this rate? Again, based on the stuff. That doesn't make any sense. Am I missing something? We have two directors that said they want us to do CPI brought back for more discussion. Why don't we just table this until the next time? Thanks.
Any other public discussion? Please approach the lectern, sign in. Entertain a motion.
Mr. President, no other option at this point, despite years of discussing this, will provide local control or will allow residents to actually pay for what they use outside of the staff recommendation. It is at this point, I will make the motion to approve the staff recommendation and direct staff to encourage water efficiency and work with anyone who wants to lower their bill.
I'll second. Okay, I have a motion on the floor to approve Resolution 2024-01, adopting the rate increase for water customers in accordance with the rate schedule attached here, though Exhibit A, and shall be in effect. When shall it be in effect? Say, Kelly.
It would be in effect July 16th unless another date is set by the board.
Okay, July 16, 2024, second by Director Gregory. We'll have a vote. Director Davis?
No.
Hold on just 1 second. I want to clarify what is being approved.
Okay.
Okay.
So the staff recommendation is for 4 years because the first year is passed. It'd be 4.5% for the first year and 5% for each year thereafter for 4 years. Or is it for a CPI instead of that?
At this point, it should be, honestly, as staff has proposed it, the 5% if the board wishes. As to, then we can discuss the CPI, go to CPI at that point.
So 5 years for the first year, and then you want to discuss the subsequent years?
The max for the first year, and we discuss, yes, bring it back to the
First year's burned, right, so it'd be the 5%.
So the proposal was to start with 4.5% at this year, which is technically the second year, which theoretically the beginning was 5%, but in order to reduce the initial burden, 4.5%.
Can you restate your motion, Director Collins, just so that we're clear?
Absolutely. I'll make a motion to approve the staff recommendation for this item and also direct staff to encourage water efficiency and work with anyone who wants to lower their bills.
Let's have one quick. So, are you starting at year 2 of this?
So technically we're starting at year 2, but it's year 1 rates. So I guess a better way to look at it is we're dropping off the last year because it took a year to get here, and the rate is technically for 5 years.
So it's the initial first year rate, it's not the initial rate plus an increase?
It's the first year rate.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second. Okay, good?
Yes.
Okay, we know what we're voting on?
Yes.
Okay. Motion by Director Calvin, second by Director Gregory. Director Davis?
I don't know what I'm voting on.
4.5% increase for the first year, 5%.
For the CPI or?
No, 4.5%.
The original plan?
So the original rate of the tiered structure of 32.
Yeah, that was the one, you mean that number 1 structure that Eric, we paid him
Yes.
$90,000?
What everybody protesting.
Yes.
Director Davis?
I'm protesting that.
Director Davis? Yes or no?
Hell no.
Okay. Director Calvin?
Yes.
Director Baker?
No.
Director Gregory?
Yes.
Director Swine?
Yes.
3, 2,
Fucking pieces of shit, all of you. Losers! Oh. Losers!
Officer,
Sir, could you remove those people?
Scum, get me out of office, you fucking losers!
But man, I think that
As a reminder, this rate can be reconsidered before each of the increases on an annual basis. You can bring them back.
you want to
We
repeat that?
can talk about the
Christina?
CPI in the future. We still want to bring those back. If you're not,
And we know that.
yes. And just so the public is aware too.
We know that.
We know
Yeah,
that.
we have discussed this and discussed
We've
it.
discussed this.
We're trying to get some relief for people that are not using so much water.
Let us know if your bill goes up.
Yes.
And quite frankly, you know, I made very clear that I like Director Baker's, and I honestly, for years, have tried to find a different alternative. And the fact, this is why I go, yes, it's because you have to use diplomacy. Literally, just reach out to me, don't act like that. You know, how do you expect to build bridges? So, we had youth that have asked us to unify as a community. That is not it. So, it's over.
And may I also make a comment to publicly that the gentleman here sitting that was ranting as he went out was giving me very intense, you know, yeah, all about the whole Steinbeck situation, Steinbeck litigation. And unfortunately, he isn't listening to any other side other than what he has heard from, you know, some lies in the community. So he's not even listening to the alternative. But anyway, he was giving me a very intense stare. Even so much as, yeah, it wasn't pleasant.
This is not, we're a small town, we should have small town values, be neighborly, born and raised here, that's what I believe in. You know, and everything that's involved this, that action, it shows, unfortunately, that he's not from this community. But it's just like everything else that's gone on, you know, people saying about storming the C.S.D. and all this other garbage. Seriously, you know, we're adults here, we need to act like it.
Okay, we're done with that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I'm for it.
Time to adopt revisions to the district water wastewater billing policy resolution 2024-02. Recommend review and approve by 3/5 vote.
This item is to approve policy changes in order to affect the change in billing from tiers to a single tier with that base rate. There's a red line version available in the packet if you'd like to review that, or if you have any questions, we have to answer.
Director Collins?
None at this time.
No.
Director Davis?
I don't have any.
And just for clarification, this would again go into effect July 16th with the rate increase.
Any public comment? Please approach the lectern and sign in. Seeing none, at this time, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion on the floor to approve Resolution 2024-02 that go into effect July 16th by Director Calvin, second by Director Gregory. Director Baker?
No.
Director Gregory?
Yes.
Director Davis?
No.
Director Calvin?
Yes.
Director Smiley?
Yes.
Passes 3-2-0 act.
Moving on to item 5, 2024 California Special Districts Association, the CSDA Board of Directors election.
So this item is to fill a vacancy on the CSDA board. There's 2 nominations, one for Ms. Elaine Banger. She's the director at the Pleasant Valley Recreational Park District. And Mr. Scott Duffield, who's the general manager of Heritage Range C.S.D. And both of them have a little background in the packet. If the board so chooses, through consensus, then they can direct the board clerk to file electronically for your choice. There is no obligation of this board to make a choice. But you can only pick one.
Mr. Dodds, I would recommend to the board to support Mr. Duffield for the seat. Mr. Duffield is from Heritage Ranch. We do work with him occasionally, and we should continue that good neighborly relations.
Any other board comment?
I also suggest Director Calvin's, I know him, and work with him a little bit out at Lake Nelson, so I would recommend him.
So I have 2 for Mr. Duffield.
Yeah.
So we need public.
Public comment before.
Public comment?
Sorry. Yes.
Public comment on that? Approach the lectern, sign in. Seeing none?
So Director Calvins and Director Smiley have noted interest for Mr. Duffield. Is there any?
I'm fine with Mr. Duffield.
Mr. Baker? Carrie?
Yes, the recommendation is fine with me.
And
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
I don't know him, but yes.
Okay, so consensus for Mr. Duffield for the CSD.
You know him.
Number 6, authorize the general manager to contract with Fluid Resources Management, FRM, for contract operator compliance and maintenance management services, resolution 2024-29, moved by 3/5 vote.
So this is an item to authorize continued use of fluid resource management to provide operator services, component services, and general operation maintenance activities for the district. This is due to the fact that we don't have enough licensed operators. We do have 2 employees that were trained to be operators, but that's a lengthy process. We are currently using FRM to provide these services. However, due to the projected cost over the next year, we're bringing it to the board for formal approval. It is a time and material basis, so we're only paying